And with the same, ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving on to the next panel discussion for the day. The topic at hand is Office Market View, Business, Space and Tech Acceleration. Allow me to introduce the moderator for the session. He leads Colliers, International's Asia Occupier Consulting Platform and Corporate Solutions India Account Management Hub. He has a multifaceted real estate experience for over 17 years that includes successfully including land, office and capital market transactions. Please put your hands together for Mr. Amit Oberoi, Head of Occupier Strategy, Asia, Colliers. Can we have a round of applause for the gentleman, everyone? Welcome. Let's talk about the panelists for this particular panel. I'd be inviting them in alphabetical order. Our next panelist is the national leader for Ernst & Young's real estate sector in the India region and is a partner with the tax practice. He has proven track record in tax, regulatory matters and international taxation. He has advised several real estate developers as well as real estate-focused private equity funds based in the US, UK, Canada, and Singapore in structuring their India-centric real estate funds and specific investments in Indian companies. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our panelist, Mr. Gaurav Karnik, real estate national leader and tax partner, EY India. Let's welcome our next panelist. Well, they are responsible for spearheading the World Trade Center services and tenant services of World Trade Center Noida. The lady is responsible for forging new strategic partnerships while maintaining old. Her main responsibility is identifying new opportunities for revenue growth and achieving annual plans, along with instituting and implementing strategies and plans. Please put your hands together for Ms. Khair Nissa, Executive Director, WTC Services, World Trade Center, Noida. Well, I like to build a little bit of suspense and keep my audience guesses, so I talk about the person first and then introduce them. Our next panelist is alumnus of London Metropolitan University and holds a master's degree in retail strategy and management. He has vast experience of more than 18 years spreading across industries including real estate, asset management, investor relations, digital marketing and flex space expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, the list goes on. Please welcome the man who founded Qdesq in 2015, one of India's largest flexible office market space platform. Let's welcome Mr. Paras Arora, founder and CEO, Qdesq. Our next panelist is a dynamic facility management professional with over 20 years of experience in general administration, man management, project management, acquisition, leasing, and corporate real estate management. He currently heads the IFM operations in the North region for Embassy Services Private Limited, the property management arm of the Embassy Group. He overlooks a portfolio spanning over more than 20 million square feet of space for marque clients. Please put your hands together for Mr. Rohit Kaul, Head of Operations, North Embassy Services Private Limited. And to complete the panel, ladies and gentlemen, joining us is a man with over 27, that is almost 3 decades of rich experience in real estate. He is responsible for driving growth and expanding the real estate market in Delhi-NCR business for Savills in India. He plays a global, pivotal role in understanding client needs, building strategic and innovative solutions. Please welcome Mr. Rajat Johar, Managing Director, Delhi-NCR, Savills, India.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting all of us, and I'll take the, I'll just go ahead and say thank you from all of our sides. So thank you so much for inviting us. I've been tracking the real estate market for over 25 years now, and the office market in the last 3 years have changed so much. I've not heard so many words being coined in the same last 3 years. We've already talked about hybrid, we've talked about distributed work, we talk about return to office, we talk about work from home. So all these coins being thrown across, the amount of change that has happened in the last 3 years is phenomenal. And I have not seen that amount of change in such a short period of time. And I do believe we are extremely resilient and we do adapt. And especially in India, we do adapt. But this is not a change that is just for India. It's a change that's happening across the globe. With that, let's try and understand. We've got a very esteemed panel here. Let's try and understand what's happening to the market. Should we be optimistic that we've had the maximum amount of gross leasing this year, which I believe is close to 60 million, or should we be cautious about the job losses that are happening or the rising inflation rates? So let's hear more from the panel that we have here. And to start with, Rajat, I'll start with you. How do you see the market right now? What's happening in the market? Are we in jubilant times or are we in cautious times?
I think it's a bit of both. Yes, I think when the pandemic started, we all felt that probably it's going to take a long while before the market kind of scales up. But I think what has happened, at least this year, is the fact that what we see the year ending with is about similar kind of absorption, not exactly the same. So the highest absorption, let's say, was in 2019, which was a little more than 60 million square foot across India. It looks to be a 55 million plus kind of year from an absorption perspective. So considering what we've gone through in the last 2 or 3 years, pandemic, work from home, return to office, all that, I think considering all that, it seems like a good year across the board. What happens next year in 2023 is a accumulation of many factors, how the Russia-Ukraine thing comes about, how the US economy behaves, how the inflation comes about, rupee-dollar devaluation, etc. How all that pans out will really, we'll get to know in 2023. Earlier, we could talk about what's the projection for the next 3 years or 5 years. I think we are in turbulent times, so we need to take each year at a time. But so far, so good. I think we bounced back pretty well. Looks like a very robust year, both on the supply and demand side. Hopefully, we'll start 2023 with as much rigor.
So are you seeing vacancy rates come down, or are you seeing a lot more being constructed right now?
Absolutely. I think the vacancy rates, what they were during the pandemic and post-pandemic, they've certainly come down drastically.
Right.
And we see that trend continuing, but obviously there is also going to be a lot of supply. So what we are seeing and what is being projected by the end of Q3 of this year, I think the demand and supply both were about 42 million square foot approximately. So whatever supply came into the market is largely been absorbed. I'm talking about new supply. But there is certainly in Q4, there are a lot of projects which are nearing culmination. And if they all get their OCs, we are looking at, at least inventory overhang of about 10 to 15 million square foot going into 2023. But like I said, I think demand is robust. We just need to see how the world order pans out, how US economy behaves, because a lot of it is outsourcing as well. ITES is a big chunk of the entire pie. So we'll just see how that pans out.
It's quite interesting, and if you read newspapers, it feels quite counterintuitive. Because when you go and talk to everyone, everyone's talking about employees not coming back to the office. And at the same time, what we are seeing is huge amount of demand, 60 million, 55 million, whatever number that is, which is far greater than what we've seen before. So, ma'am, where is the demand coming from?
Amit, actually, taking from what Rajat said, that this, we're looking at 2022, wherein we're seeing a lot of demand and absorption also. And in the later part of the year, we would see a lot of newer supply coming in. But I think, and I've always been an advocate of this, and since I represent World Trade Center I represent on the global board, India. So I have always felt that this is the time of India. When I say this is the time for India, I mean it from many perspectives. Both from companies and corporates and investments which are coming into India, which are looking at India from a perspective of an Indian market, but also looking at India from a global perspective. So we have a very large MSMEs. We have a very large startups. We have 107 unicorns out. If you look at the unicorns, we had 42 unicorns which were born in 2022, and 21 odd plus were born in 2021. We have a very, very large number of startups which have the requirement. If the demand from ITs is coming down, which were the largest space occupiers, but we're seeing that demand is actually balanced out by Indian corporates, Indian startup companies, Indian unicorns, and then there's a huge demand which we are seeing coming from BFSI. We're seeing a lot of demand coming from like manufacturing units, but they definitely might be going into industrial. But they have the front end offices like their sales, marketing, and other services, which is actually also increasing the demand for the office and workspaces. So it's kind of balancing it out. If I look at World Trade Center Gift City in Gujarat, I have 90% occupancy. I'm already in the middle of signing few contracts there. I don't have space to offer. I'm actually thinking of leasing out the ready buildings there so that I would be able to accommodate. If I look at World Trade Center Faridabad, I have a part of it which is ready. Again, I don't have anything to offer because it's already occupied. If I look at World Trade Center Noida, my 2 million square feet out of 2.3 million square feet is already occupied. If I'm looking at, and I have a huge pressure of actually having more supply being brought up. I think we are not only 22, but 23 is also seeming very, very robust for India as far as absorption is concerned. Yes, the feelings and the perception is there that IT jobs are being lost. They're firing people, but then it's balancing out. If IT is not moving, there are other industries which are making up for it.
So if I were to extrapolate that, and what you're saying is IT is not coming back to the office. Employees in the IT segment are probably not coming back to the office. The people who are coming back to the office is BFSI. Consulting.
Services.
What we are seeing is services, or people who have manufacturing, and if the people are coming back to the plants, then like Elon Musk says, you have to come back to the office as well, right? So Rohit, what's your experience in the various parks that you manage? What is the scene with return to office? Because that's the million-dollar question everyone asks. When will people come back? When will that 20, 30% become 50, or will it ever become the 70% of old? What do you see?
So Amit, interestingly, Embassy Group manages two of their largest parks in Noida-NCR, which are Embassy Oxygen Business Park, and the other one is Embassy Galaxy Business Park. Fortunately for us, we have a mix of IT sector as well as other sectors also in that park. And I'm proudly saying this, that we have experienced close to around 50% of return to office. And this is merely because the teams that are working with us, we as an IFMS company, we have provided them the services from taking ahead from the BSc audits. We have tried to give that culture to the team that yes, they are safe, first of all. Secondly, we have also told them that if they return to office, what are the incentives that they are going to get? there are a lot of incentives that we are rolling out. We have taken this pandemic as a experience gaining platform for the people. We are trying to refurbish the lobbies. We are trying to refurbish the common areas in the parks so as to give them that experience which is required for them to come out of their homes and have that feeling that yes, they're safe. So that is, those are certain aspects that we are covering under this regime of return to office.
Right. Thanks, Rohit. Thank you for that. Does it also imply, I mean, I'm just trying to think what are the reasons why people are not coming back? Is it because commute times are very long in India? Is that something that people are looking at?
So, to be frank with you, most of the people in India, as I understand, they tend to live nearby to their office spaces. So commute time, yes, there can be a challenge on commute time also, but mostly what we have experienced in our Oxygen and Galaxy business parks is that most of the people are nearby, and yes, there can be a reason to it. I can agree to it partially, yes.
I mean, there's a fantastic amount of research that's going on. So some people are looking at what is productivity, right? I had a conversation with a very senior partner in one of the IT firms, and he said, look, a typical contract in an IT company is for about 2 to 3 years, right?
Agreed.
And all of those contracts are now coming to an end. And when you start a contract, that's when the thought process goes into developing those, how do you deliver those contracts, right? True. And once you've done that, then it is like an assembly line, right? And now we are reaching back to a stage where you have to start thinking again of how do you deliver the new contracts, and you have to have more collaboration. And you can't just talk to the 8 people that you've been talking to during COVID.
So different industries have to be approached.
Correct.
Yes, you're right. So Embassy as a group, what we have done is we have diversified our portfolios into industrial parks, into business parks, into co-working, and all those factors have actually resulted into the growth of the company. Right. That is how the business has to be developed. You have to diversify.
Right. I think one of the, outcomes of this, Paris, is that 15% of the 60 million, and we were discussing this number, is flex. So yes. Is flex taking over the office space, or is flex also growing and the office is also growing? What's happening here?
It's pretty interesting. First of all, great to be here and lovely panel. Flex is quite a story. We all know that it was born 2014-15, and then the whole co-working revolution started. Which is currently, as per what he mentioned, Rajat, that around 15% was in flex this year. And right now, being a leading market platform in the flex space, we have around 4,200 odd centers listed. And in terms of inventory, it would be close to 2 million desks. And if you multiply by 100, it's like, that kind of, stock in terms of square footage. So our current estimation it is that out of the total office stock, which is A and B, around 18% is flex. Flex has a lot of stock in B and C, sector 44s of the world, and those Andheri. It was 1% when we started, and it is 18%, including 2 years of COVID. And hats off to the flex operators. They showed extreme amount of fortitude even in these 2 years, because they are in the business of leasing and then subleasing. They're not an enterprise that it's okay. Employees are not coming. For them, every seat vacant is money lost. So that's been quite a, and it's not a very well-funded kind of a sector. You don't see too many, like she mentioned about unicorns, and you don't see that kind of money flowing, private equity or VC in this space. So still, it's organically growing. That means there is a huge demand for smaller offices. There is huge demand for on-demand in terms of flexibility, pricing, and terms. I want office for 6 months. I want office for 1 year. Or coming back to your question on work from home, actually, it's not that people want to work from home. It's just that they don't want to come to office every day. That's my narrative or take. And it is, they want to come once, twice, depending on the organization. Underlining parameter at a sector level would be data sensitivity and technology adoption within the sector. Like we recently did a report that who's actually 100% office. It's pharma. Pharma is pretty much in office and always been. A, it was required, it was essential. Second, they're not gone that tech in terms of, like IT industry, it's a template, like you very well pointed out that you start with collaboration and then it becomes a template-based job. So you don't have to come to office. Flex, our estimation is that by 25-26 financial year would be around 35 to 38% of the total office stock. This I'm again talking of co-working. I'm not including managed office because I still feel managed office is a hybrid. It's a back-to-back conventional then converting into flex. So I think great times for this industry. We are extremely bullish. Even in recession, what happened in 2007, there is a data, we have some friends from flex industry here. Whenever recession happens or anything happens, the movement towards smaller offices or serviced offices are always been high. So overall, this industry is in a very, very good trajectory.
May I add one thing, Amit, here? See, what we are looking at, the trend which is happening in India, especially when it comes to real estate, it is no longer a real estate. It is actually an experience. I mean, people and corporates are actually looking, even the developers are looking at real estate or office spaces. It has become more human. Unlike what was before pre-pandemic, it has become more human, more of an experience, and flex would see more demand, multi-tenants would see more demand in times to come. So that is one of the major important reasons beside the fact that there was a time when offices and corporates were looking at consolidating their offices. It was immediately in 2019, we were looking at large corporates who were looking at consolidation. Pandemic happened, and we are suddenly looking at distributed hub and spoke locations. And this is something, but then at the same time, while it might be a trend, but it has also made us realize that if there is a development, if there is an experience, we cannot, as developers, we cannot be doing everything. We need partners. We need to collaborate with partners whose core businesses would be to create those experiences. And that is where the flex offices come in place. So it's going to be a core plus flex, which I'm largely seeing as a trend to come in times to come.
So I'm really tempted to ask you this follow-up question, and I know flex can be a panel discussion on its own. Are we seeing hyper flexibility coming in, wherein you are saying it's no longer a one-year lease, it's probably even less than that? Is that the trend that you see?
Far and few. Hyperflex, or I would say absolutely on demand, I want to work this day for these many hours. This is happening mostly in tech companies. And I would say those companies who have some kind of relation with US, because they somehow are exposed to that kind of culture or the way it is happening. The whole one office strategy that everyone coming to that office, that is definitely disrupted. She said hub and spoke, I will add remote. Remote may not be home, it would be near home or on-demand location. Hyperflex, extreme amount of flexibility is still not becoming way of life. We thought that post-pandemic companies will just have a dashboard with us and say that, these are 7,000 employees, they will just book here 2 days. It's not happening, but it is happening. It is not becoming way of life. It is happening for some companies.
Change is the only constant now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Amit, I just wanted to say that, see, today, every client, at least that we are speaking to, is very clear that it's not going to be complete office. It is going to be core and flex. It can't be one shoe fits all. Now, flex as a space is also evolving, right? When it started, like Paras said, in 2014, it was about co-working spaces. So you had, co-works, WeWorks, etc. They were giving hybrid office. Then it changed a bit. It became a little more institutional. Managed office place came. Then you had business centers which were already there. At a high end, there was some business center at a lower end. This space continues to evolve. And I think it will depend a lot on the demand, what these large corporates want. what their employees are telling them. The new buzzword in town is the third spaces. So earlier we were saying work from office, work from home, but now it's work from this third space, which essentially means that I don't want to be in office, I don't want to be at home, because I'm sick and tired of being in office and at home. So I want to work out of, let's say, a coffee shop. I want to work out of something like an environment like a hotel lobby, right? And that's where I think a lot of developers are rethinking their entire portfolio strategy, like you mentioned, where they are putting in more amenities, things like more coffee shops, more mixed use kind of things, where people can work out of, let's say, an outdoor environment, open the laptop and start working. And I think a lot of companies are also gearing up from a technology point of view to suit that entire model. So it's technology, it's flex, it's third spaces. The whole environment of office today is changing thanks to COVID. I mean, that's where it started off from. But it is changing every day. You don't know what tomorrow, when you say flex, you don't know what flex is tomorrow. We can only talk about what flex is today because it's such an evolving space. But having said that, I think it is going to be part of anybody's real estate strategy when they're talking about flex. It has to be flex and core. I mean, that's what people.
So that's a good segue to get Gaurav in.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Actually, I'm also compelled to add something here. We are not
We
far.
promised we'll make it free-flowing.
Yeah.
And my questions are free-flowing, and I've changed the questions that we discussed, so I've taken that liberty.
We are pretty real time now. We are not far from the fact that co-working may not be tenant anymore, but an amenity within the building. It has started happening in Singapore and other places. Developers creating their own flex product and using technology or a platform like us to book if someone wants. And also this will help occupiers to have a reduced square footage and using more common amenities of the building. They can use the boardroom downstairs, they can use the hot seats there, which even in Colliers when we were doing, we used to call it incubation, then proper move-in. I think every developer would be thinking, or probably if they have started, right now they are able to get them as a tenant. There would be a time they would be thinking to do it themselves or have a partner to do it on the ground floor or wherever to do the flex product, which is going to serve the building overall.
So Gaurav, what does that mean for tier 2 cities? And my second question is this the death knell for SEZs?
So I think a couple of points there. I think just to add to whatever the panel was saying, I think when you're looking at work from home and return to office, and I'm from the consulting side, so obviously I see that on a real-time basis. I think the most important part is how good is your office, because I speak to some of the our clients who are on the BFSI side, and they have large captive centers here, and out of 10,000 people, he said 9,000 come to work every day. And he said the reason why they come back is because we have a great office and all the fancy facilities. So I think that's very important. And
security is also one of the major ones.
Of course, that's the given reason, but we still have tech companies working from home and have 50% from SEZ. To take your question on tier 2, I think the concentration of office is mostly still tier 1. I think we'll see more flex sort of situations, co-working spaces come up in the tier 2 cities. A lot of the workforce has gone back to their hometowns. It's places like Delhi normally have people who come from Jaipur or other cities and have been living here for a while, but in the pandemic, with they ran out of their leases, they went back home. And many have not come back. So for them, I think flex would make a lot more sense. We won't have large office spaces there, but definitely for flex, I do see a lot of potential for that to happen.
Should we have offices in Mussoorie and Goa? Because bulk of the employees are there right now. I mean, residential rents have definitely gone up. I mean, is there a good case to have an office space in Panaji?
Very possible. I think most people don't even want to be Panaji. They're on the beach, so so they're looking for something more there.
During pandemic, we did see when we did see a lot of people actually in Kashmir. Yeah. We actually saw a lot of corporates, IT companies had sent their employees to Kashmir to do work from from remote areas. So Kashmir was the chosen destination.
Yeah, so I think coming back to the last part which you had for me was on the SEZs. So the SEZ, obviously there are no direct tax benefits. The only benefits are indirect tax. And there are a lot of rules and regulations when you go work in an SEZ. So if you look at from a demand perspective, we definitely see a lot of the foreign companies still outsource and continue to outsource captive centers to India. And even if we have a recession in the United States, they will definitely look at bottom line. The only way they can improve it is to cut down costs. So from a competitive part, obviously we'll have a lot of captive centers coming to India. But the trend that we see from captives who are planning to set up here is that the question they ask developers is, why should I be in an SEZ where I hardly have any benefits left and I have so many compliances? And for a multinational foreigner, compliance is big. So to spend, you have to hire a huge team to keep up with the compliance in SEZ. So I think to a large extent, maybe the upcoming Desh bill which is coming will help solve some of this problem, because you have fantastic SEZs with the best of facilities, but vacancies are 18-20%, could go higher, and there's no way of getting the people back in unless you do a denotification. The Desh bill actually allows you to denotify floors, at obviously subject to payment of duties, etc. But at least conceptually it's there, and that's something which will really help going forward, and hopefully that will be the future.
So the $1 million question is, when will the Desh bill be tabled?
That is $1 million, maybe $1 billion question.
So that's something in the future we don't know. Is it near future?
So the bill is there. I mean, there's been a lot of stakeholder meetings with the government. Government has got all the inputs. I think it's a matter of when they put it up in the parliament.
Right. And, interesting conversation, and I'll just ask a different perspective to this. With US Treasury bonds 10-year bonds at about 4.5% or something like that, and Fed hike not easing, do you still see a lot of investments coming to India, or are they still centered on the US?
No, I think in the last 2-3 years, we've seen a lot of foreign institutional money come into real estate. If you see the private equity side, the pension fund, sovereign wealth fund, they have all been buying into office space. We've had 3 REITs in the last 2 years, 2 in the middle of the pandemic. So it's obviously there is an exit which is available. So foreigners are obviously enthused by the fact that it's not just that you put in money and there's no exit in the future. So there we've seen a lot of investments come in commercial. We see a lot in industrial, which is warehouse basically, a lot of investments there. And lately we've been also seeing a lot of investments in the data center field. And all these are driven by local dynamics. Data center obviously because of increased e-commerce, the laws being in such that you need to store data in India, you need large centers for that. So that's really pushing the demand. And warehousing, of course, e-commerce in the last 2 years has been on a boom, and hopefully will continue. So we see a lot of investment there. Office people are still bullish. They are now, obviously there are not too many ready-made buildings for sale. So they are looking to, to build them from the beginning, and they are enthused about it. I think commercial still okay. Residential is not seen so much foreign investment.
I mean, someone wanting to invest from ground up shows that they have the confidence in the office market, right? It's an indication of that. But very interesting, if I just
to add to that is that they have confidence, but they also choose a partner. So the foreigners are depending a lot on their partners, and the established names are the ones who are forming the platforms for this.
Also, I think what has happened is with the rupee dollar, with the rupee devaluing against the dollar, I think obviously everything in the Indian real estate market is a 20% discount today, right? So anybody who is willing to put certain amount of money into India is obviously getting great value today.
That's today. The issue is that in the future the rupee could devalue further, so then all the gains are gone.
Yeah.
But
hopefully by then the rupee comes down.
But we're also seeing a growth in the Indian market.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it's a gateway to Asia. If you look at India, we're a gateway to Asia and a growing market. That is also one of the major reasons. Plus the GST, the one tax, demonetization which we did, they've actually created a lot of supremacy for India. Perceptively, we are at a great place. We are diplomatically very strong. We are actually getting a lot of interest from various countries, various corporates, which are actually looking at investments in India. We are getting, never before did we have investments coming in defense. I mean, they were limited to the PSUs, but now we are seeing those investments with the MSMEs, with the private players. So there is a lot which is happening, which would be giving a great boost to the Indian real estate, especially with the growth corridors, the defense corridor which is being built, the DMIC corridor, the industrial nodes which are coming, the connectivity that we are actually building, not only for the defense, but generally because we want to be connected to the globe. That is also one of the reasons, or one of the many reasons which are helping the investments to come into India. They're creating, like if the investment for a defense company comes into India, it is automatically leading to a requirement for an office space or a real estate in one way or the other. Those are also other ways where we are seeing the real estate being taken up.
Right. I mean, the agenda or the pattern of the day is to think counterintuitively. And thinking counterintuitively is money also originating from India and the investment destination being abroad. Do you see a lot of that happening as well?
See, Amit, I was just telling you that there, historically or in the past, what we have been seeing is investments coming into India. But now India is at such a space that Indians are actually investing in international markets, not only for businesses, but in various real estate, because they're looking at good return on investment, stable return on investment. There are two ways that I'm largely seeing. One is the investments in real estate in US, in Malaysia, in countries where you have easy access and accessibility and great compliances. You know, easy compliances which are actually helping us take the investment from India to other countries. Secondly, we're also seeing a lot of citizenship programs, not only limited to companies, but also to startups, which are actually investing in technology and other aspects of the startups, which is another way of investment being taken from India to other countries. So that's a complete flow right now. There's a flow, inbound and outbound, which is happening. You know, that's what we are seeing. The trend is largely increasing, especially in the startup zone.
Yeah. Rohit, just coming back to where we were talking about a lot of ground-up development now happening, and from your REIT, the fact that you work for a REIT, how are REITs ensuring longevity of buildings? And the reason I'm asking is, let's say Bangalore has about 150 million square feet, ballpark.
Yeah, the Manyata Tech Park alone.
Yeah, I mean, 150 million, all maybe 160, 170. With 15 million being added every year,
That's
the
true.
whole real estate has mathematically at least come up in the last 10 years, right?
10 to 15 years, yes.
10 to 15 years. And yet I have a lot of tenants saying, oh, building purani ho gayi thi, and apologies for going in Hindi, but that's only 15 years old, right? So
That's
how do
right.
you make sure, and a REIT is supposed to have a long life, right? So how do you increase longevity of buildings?
So correctly said, Amit. Initially, when we started investing into buildings and building the infrastructure across, we started, like Embassy is originated from Bangalore. So when we started investing into infrastructure, it was not thought of, to be frank with you, that how we will, you know, rejuvenate the buildings or refurbish the buildings in the coming years. But now that REIT has come into the REIT as a backup that we have now, the major portion that we take from the tenants, that is the CAM, Common Area Maintenance, a portion of that common area maintenance is now being reinvested into refurbishments and into rejuvenating the buildings, making corner spots or making the cafeterias. Those kind of developments are being progressed in almost all the REIT properties that we are managing across country. So that is how we are trying to develop a space, a niche into the market where development is part and parcel to invite new tenants into our parks.
Paras, and I know you're very interested in tech. So what role does tech have in getting people back or improving employee experience? Let's put it that way.
So, prop tech or the role of tech in real estate is the buzzword. Especially after COVID, people are thinking that if people are going to go hybrid or they're not going to come to office every day, and there is going to be more and more role of flex as a component of office stock. I see tech in broadly three aspects. One is the transaction side. Second is, we call it TAM, transaction analysis and management. So transaction means ability to book something online, whether office space or residential. And the whole centralization or digitization of real estate makes the data, the power of data, very important. And finally, the management, how well you manage the asset, which has two parts, experience on the tenant side and the experience on the landlord side or the owner side. These are the three important, I would say, wraps around the prop tech or the tech in real estate. Real estate is always going to be a tech-enabled business where tech will play more of a efficiency, doing more with less kind of a narrative, rather than totally replacing humans on the broking side or on the management side. Yeah, but people who were doing, 10 people doing X, there would be 3 doing that same X.
Yeah, and I think from a prop tech, in addition to whatever, Paras just mentioned, I think there are 2-3 other aspects where, developers look at is how to digitize everything from the records, from the papers. They don't want any invoices. So in fact, some of our clients we're working with, they want to, automate the whole process from the construction side all the way to leasing, and everything they want to put on tech. So there is definitely, that sort of efficiency which comes in, there's, improvement in processes. And, things like what we do on transactions, we've done, in the COVID time, we did not meet the target, but we are doing diligence sitting at home. So, there is and this is land and, related companies. Right. So things, obviously, there's a big future for prop tech.
Do you see a lot of investments in prop tech right now?
So there is investment happening. There are a couple of, there is a bank which is funding prop tech through their fund. There is a developer in the south which have a real estate accelerator program. So they are looking at it, and developers are looking to encourage this.
Right. And do you also see developers taking measures to mitigate the risk of inflation at this point of time? Because that's another thing that's happening. Fuel prices have gone up. Any fit-out projects that you did earlier now have become extremely expensive. And then the supply chain blockages that we are seeing. Are companies doing anything different to?
Average 300% increase in the input cost of construction. That is what we are seeing.
Right.
300%.
And more time as well. Right, but then any of you are seeing which is
we
being
have
done?
In World Trade Center Chandigarh, I have the structure and facade, everything ready. We have placed order for the services 6 months ago, and still it's not delivered.
Right.
There's a lapse. We are seeing those lapses happening. So there are delays. So if you add the delay cost, that's an extra additional over the 300%. When I'm saying 300% inflation increase, I'm actually talking about materially, what was in 2019 and what is today in cement, in steel, in glass, everything. It's 300% on an average. And I'm not including the delay cost.
Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead, Paras.
Instances where we see good tech in India now, in especially office ecosystem, is definitely on the discovery and transaction side, whether it's office or flex or even in residential. We see a lot of tech now coming on the experience side. We going hybrid, so there are softwares with which you can see the floor plan of the office, and you can book desk, you can book meeting rooms. So the whole usage of office space is getting digitized. Movement into and out of the office space is getting digitized. Every building has a visitor management, cloud-based data digitization. You get a visitor pass. So on the experience side, there is tech, transaction side. But on the construction side, till the time in the country where we'll always have a cheap labor, the importance of putting in tech compared to what it is in US. There are so many prop tech startups, they got good funding also, which are on construction management. They're not doing the actual construction, they're just generating data, reports, ensuring that this is done on this week, which we had Dan charts and all that long time back. It's the same thing, but more cloud-based, more real-time. In India, in construction side and ensuring that this is completed way on time is still to be seen.
So Paras, we'll start from you and quick, rapid, answers. And the whole idea is don't think too long, just answer whatever comes first to your mind. And the same question for everyone. What is that one thing? And the reason I'm asking this is because the agenda seems to be that we need to repurpose the office, make it more employee-centric, make it better experience for the employees. So what is that one thing you'd like to change in your office?
In our office?
To make it more better in terms of employee experience. And I'll also answer that question, or I can start with answering.
I'm going physical in terms of my visualization, but if, the whole ethos around office is what it used to be, a mandate to come to, I love coming here. We're still figuring it out. I think flexibility is coming out to be one aspect that you don't come every day, so you will love coming whenever you want to come. And that's it. Apart from that, it's very functional, very optimized kind of an office. Avoid extra seating. I mean, it should always be occupied. That's it, what we want.
I think for embassy, the office space, if I talk about...
No, so I'll just clarify myself. I'm not talking about your organization. What would you, as an individual, want to see different in your office?
That's the development.
Yeah. What would you see inside your office?
So Amit, surprisingly, over the years, the developers' offices have also, rejuvenated. It was nothing like this, what I see today.
Yeah.
So I have joined embassy past 3 years back. And what I see today as embassy office, the corporate
I'll tell you what, I've got colleagues here and I'm still going to answer that.
So to be frank with you, I don't see anything to be changed there. It's perfectly fine.
Okay. Rajat?
Yeah, firstly, I think...
You've just joined your new organization, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. First thing is I hope people come back to office quickly, because that's the only way the business will grow. But that's on a personal note. But otherwise, I think health and safety plays a very important role in the office, and I think more focus on that and continued focus on that. There is already a lot of focus after the pandemic, but I think continued focus on that and the amenities that are available in the park. I think those are two, in my opinion, the most important things.
I'll be a little arrogant. I'm perfect. I don't think I need to change anything because I've factored in a lot of aspects. So again, with a little bit of arrogance, I don't think I'm going to change anything.
So you like the way it is and the familiarity of it, and you don't want any change?
No, we're very agile to change, very, very agile, but considering that we've already factored, see, life is very simple, and it's based on simple fundamentals, and we have actually maintained those fundamentals. So after that, it doesn't require change. We've always been very human-centric, people-centric, employee-centric. In my World Trade Center, Noida, I have 25,000 people working. And right from the blue collars to the white collars and the pink collars, it is catering to all of that. I have organic farming on my terrace. I have, renewable energy there. I'm very, very future ready. That's why I'm saying I'm a little arrogant in saying that I do not want to change anything because it's already far, far ahead of its times.
Well, I'm not so arrogant, but I'm a tenant and not a developer. But I think from getting people back to work, I think the main factor is that there should be a wow factor. So there has to be something different in our offices to get people back. Maybe it's tech, maybe it's the facilities of food, or maybe it's just the facility itself, bigger spaces, etc., which get them back. That's what I would look at.
So I promised I'd answer that as well. For me, there needs to be better coffee. For me, there needs to be better coffee, and there aren't very many offices that I go to where they have good coffee. And that's me, and I'm definitely a minority, and I don't think a lot of offices will change for me. But I think we could do with much better coffee and tea.
And parking for the visitors.
And parking, in Gurgaon especially. So we've got 5 minutes, about 5.5 minutes left, and yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening. I'm Vikas Mahajan from Growth Catalyst. Two things which I like to change in our office is HQ, that is the happiness quotient. Let's calculate what is the happiness quotient among the people. Maybe it includes your coffee also at the same point of time. And another thing which I feel is the growth quotient. You have to ask people how do they feel about the growth in the company. And if those two things are changed, it will make the employees, stick to the organization in a better way. And I've tried it, tested it in my organization, and we got very good results about this.
Right. And the only place I know which tracks the first one is Bhutan, which comes back to having offices there. And I can tell you it's like Switzerland of Asia.
Yeah.
So we could have our offices there. Any more questions?
One question from Mr. Paras I like to ask. As far as we have all worked in different organizations, and we differentiate one organization from the other which we have worked in past, it is only through the culture. Fine. Now, when we are talking about flexi offices, what about the culture? Otherwise, organization is a set of people. Every organization, they say, our culture is better, our culture is great, so we are more bonded to each other. When we are meeting at times, what about the culture? What will be differentiating factor? Everybody is paying a good salary. But what about the culture? And lastly, what I want to say, we can pray anywhere. God is everywhere. Why do we need to go to mandir? And har jagah pe bheed lagi hui hai Hindustan mein mandir mein. So that is same office for us. Thank you, sir.
Very good question. This question was actually a fundamental question mark when the whole co-working started way back. See, there was serviced office always there. IWG Regis has been there for, I don't know, how many years? 50, 60, 70 years. But WeWork changed the whole thing. And the reason why WeWork changed the whole narrative and made it a sought after office space, even big enterprises wanted to be there, is because of the culture he was creating in a co-working space. So reason why you have, there are reports which was done by Co-working Intel as well, the attrition of employees of an enterprise in co-working is lesser than their own office because they are able to collaborate, grow from other subtenants within the co-working space. There are risks to that. There are certain industries and sectors which don't promote that. And also a lot of big enterprises don't want a similar competition in the same co-working space. But overall, it is healthy when people get more exposure about other sectors and industry. They can bring about that learning to that organization. And I also, the Mandir part you mentioned, there could be the headquarter Mandir and then co-working could be...
Paras, I think that was not a question. That was put an exclamation mark at the end.
Actually, I'll tell you where it's coming from since Vikas works with me, has worked with me. World Trade Center is actually positioned, it's a mixed-use development, but it is positioned as a temple of work. All over across India, we position World Trade Center as a temple of work. And the concept is that office space, work is worship, the office spaces or the workspaces are places of worship, and the community, that is the corporates and the community that we build around those workspaces is the community which we see in a temple. Similarly, so mixed-use developments where largely what we used to see are or were equivalent to a temple. They have food courts. We used to have langar. Langar was equivalent to the modern day food court. We have in mixed-use development, we have residential, we have service apartments, we have hotel, which was Aramga or Musafir Khana in the temple. So similarly, so religious places were community centers. And when we are talking about workspaces, workspaces are also community centers. That is the experience and the human aspect that we are building in the real estate. His question, I believe, when you're talking about the happy quotient, is also about the pride, where people take a lot of pride in coming and working. So the pride of working, that as against a standalone office, as against the mixed-use development, where you get to work with multiple offices, multiple communities with pairs of the same industry, that also helps in increasing the HQ. And the culture definitely is very, very inherent of the corporate as far as that perspective is concerned, the culture is concerned, but it is also about the experience they want to give to their employees or the pride that they want to give to their employees. Let's look at one example, One Horizon in Gurgaon, one of the finest towers in Gurgaon or in India if you look at. There's a lot of pride for people who, or companies or their employees who are working there, as against, I would not name because it's incorrect for me to name any other building, as against any other standalone building. So that is where it actually comes out. So the real estate, again, it's human. It's become very humanized. It's become very human-centric. So these are aspects which are actually now becoming in the forefront of every real estate development now.
Thank you so much. And I think your question was very pertinent. Culture plays a huge role. What we've seen in our surveys is the maximum attrition, just to add to your point, is happening actually at the entry level, where mentorship is not there. So we are seeing a lot of that happening. So on that fantastic question, I know time is up. It's written in red and I really can't cross my time. Thank you so much to all my panelists and for bearing with me. I changed all the questions. Thank you so much.
Well, I have something to say about this particular panel. This would be a first in my career that I'm witnessing that a panel has strictly followed the timelines, stayed on the time, and still has managed to cover every aspect of the topic with such detailed information. Thank you so very much for such a wonderful discussion. Thank you. Can we please have you all up in the front for a picture? And to present a small token of appreciation on our behalf to our panelist and the moderator, may I invite Mr. Aditya Kumar, Managing Director, Victoria Lifts Private Limited, to present the token. I request the panelists to kindly be here with us for the moment. Mr. Kumar, perhaps a picture with the panelists? A picture? A group picture, please.